Hey guys, it's Comet. Cybele, if you're on Kynig at all. I'm just going to give you kind of a brief overview of this build I've got going. It's basically a healing bunker build, the best way I can describe it. The general idea of this build for Mesmer is just constant healing, never stopping the heals. So the way I've got this set up, basically I've got my mantra of healing. So I've got my 2 minor heals, which will also trigger my rune effects. I'm also running the mantra of resolve, just because I don't like being poisoned at all times, and it really does help if you're combining this with one of the traits for healing to remove conditions when you heal. So you've essentially got remove 2 conditions, 2 uses of that, and remove a condition along with a heal on your healing ability. Now, along with that, I'm also running a Signet of Illusions to recharge my shatters, and Signet of Midnight for the AoE blind, which actually I sub that out a little bit every now and then, but it's actually used more for bombing confusion, which I'll get into in a little bit. Right now for weapons, this particular build doesn't really rely on any kind of weapon set in particular. It's just more of a preference thing for me. I'm running Greatsword. I got my Greatsaw out here. And for my offset, I've got Longsword and Torch. Again, that's a preference thing. I like being able to cover everyone with confusion really quickly with the Prestige. So I can run in with the leap and swap, do a blurred frenzy, go out with the Prestige. I've already confused people. I've got a few layers of vulnerability on them from the initial strikes. I can pop my Signet while I'm in stealth without breaking in. I can use all my bursts while I'm in stealth without breaking it. It's a lot of fun. But here's the trait setup I've got for this class. I've got it's very heavy in the inspiration tree. I'll start right up here. Right out of the gates, I've got for domination 10 points in that. Really, this could go into any of these. Getting the regen is nifty. Running dueling for the vigor bonuses, it really helps. But personally, with the way I'm set this build up, I've got it set up so I get my Signets recharging faster, because I do use the Signet of Illusions to recharge my Shatter, and I'll get to that in a moment. Now, on Inspiration, I've got Remove Condition when you heal. That's for my Mantra of Healing. That's when Mantra of Healing becomes really potent, is when you can remove conditions really quick with that. I've got Vigorous Revelation. Shattering Illusions gives you Vigor, and gives vigor to everyone around you, and this build is built around self-shatter. So it's basically a free vigor whenever you press it. And I finish this off, this is one of the more important bits here. Heal when you shatter. This whole build is set up around using your shatter skills as self-heals. Now it ties into down here, Illusionary Persona. I've gotten the shatter, increase the effect on yourself. When you do that, you get the heal, you'll get trigger it off of yourself. That actually helps with your distortion too. It's an extra second added onto that, plus your illusions. But the healing is a flat amount you get off of the shatter, and it does scale off your healing power. So you don't need to have illusions up to get the benefits of the heal. So if, say, you're getting hit by somebody, like, oh no, oh crap, oh crap, oh crap, someone's right on top of me. You can literally, if it's not advised, but you can just do one of these deals, and just right there you've healed about 10,000 health. Right there in the spot, without touching any of your base heals. And you can go back to your Signet of Illusions, recharge all of that, and you've got it back up if you need to pop it again and go back to full health. That, and if anyone got close to you during it, you just confuse them a few times, because all your triggers will cause confusion. But for the last tree here, Illusions, I gotta get off topic there. I've got set up Cry of Frustration grants Retaliation. This I've found is very useful if you're bombing confusion, because you can get your illusions out, pop the frustration, and since this build is more of a tanky kind of build, having that retaliation will really turn up the damage that you can put down on a target, along with the confusion you've already got out. So it's just kind of a, I'm not going to call it reverse psychology, but kind of doing a hurting people by having them hurt you kind of setup, but you can take the hits and sustain longer than they can. I've also got Blinding Befuddlement, cause confusion when you blind a foe. Oh, there's a typo there. But this is more for the Signet of Midnight. and the Prestige. This is more of a preference thing. This isn't very specific to this build. But this is more for when I'm playing World versus World. I can pop the Signet, and okay, everyone around me's got confusion now, and you know they're doing a little bit of damage to them. Everyone's getting tagged. Okay. For this particular build, one of the big things with this is you can't run this without running healing power. It's just a fact of it. You need to have your healing power cranked up. But once you do, it's uncanny the amount of healing you can do. Like right now, I am at 1,176 healing power base. This is before my bonuses off my sword. This is before any extra bonuses that I get for whatever area I'm in. Granted, when we get near the end of World versus World, this is actually my healing power. I've seen clear 1,700 with World versus World bonuses and full healing bonuses off of this, and it gets pretty crazy. But the way I've got my stats set up, my gear set up for this, I'm running a combination of the Magi stats, which you can get off of Twilight Arbor and Ascalon Catacombs. There's a couple random items that float around too with it. I actually just recently found out there is, in fact, a ring with Magi stats, which I'm probably going to jump all over. And I've also got Cleric stats, so I've got a good mix of vitality and toughness between my gear. I've got a lot of power and a decent amount of precision, enough to bump me up to mid-20s for my crit chance, which is all I really need. Because at least with my build, because if I'm using a greatsword and a mesmer, I've got 3 hits. And when I'm running the Sigil of Blood, if I'm hitting 3 times at a 25% chance, most likely every other auto attack is going to trigger it. And with the 2-second cooldown, it works out perfectly. Again, weapons are pretty preferential on this. Normally, I'm greatsword and sword and torch. When I'm running dungeons, like say Ascalon, I'll be running scepter and pistol instead of a sword and torch. That's more for the block and a couple of little things. Although this build will actually benefit a bit from the scepter, as odd as it sounds. Even though it still is a pretty weak weapon, having those extra illusions around, you can keep more retaliation up, keep more distortion up. You have a lot of fun with that. But that's the general gist of the build. I do also run the Charzuka on this. That's just because I play Char. I don't really know what other elites would work good with this setup. The Time Warp could work for your mantra charging if you spec into Restorative Mantras instead and swap out the Signet of Midnight for, say, the Mantra of Concentration so you get stability. If you're doing PvP, for example. But that's pretty much the gist of it, though. It's a lot of fun, a lot of healing, just non-stop at all time healing. My last little thing before I close this off, rune sets. Personally, I'm running Rata Sum right now. I'm actually having a lot of fun with that. The radiation field is niftier than I thought, even though it doesn't combo properly. A couple sets I've used in the past that work really good for this. I'd noticed my original set of runes was a Dwayna set for regen, which is awesome if you're running mantras, because you can kind of queue it up and just keep it ready for whenever you want. Since when you're running mantras, you're refreshing that. You can wait 10 seconds between your mantra uses, and your charge actually finishes up, or the cooldown is only 10 seconds, so you can charge that up after that and chant it. And at the end of the chant, you'll trigger the regen. Water and the Flock also work pretty good. Water is it's an all-around good rune set. Whenever you get any kind of boons, you're going to have that extra 10% time, and if you're actually 15% boon duration, and if you stack that on top of the Signet of Midnight, you're up to 25% boon duration bonus, which is pretty nice. It's really good when you're hunkering down inside of, say, a pair of duelists to crank up the regen. That does work on this build. The Flock is nifty because even though it's a little touchy, with a full set, the bird that does trigger causes blindness, which in turn causes confusion with this setup. So you can get more, not frequently, but you can get a little more out there. If they fix it, my original design of this was going to be with the Vampirism rune set. but unfortunately the leeching is touchy, it doesn't trigger that often, the mist is broken, but if they do fix it, Vampirism is definitely a rune set to consider for this. But yeah, that is my build, and I've used it quite a bit in PvE and World versus World, not PvPer, but it works pretty good in both of them. I notice it's especially good when you're defending in World versus World. Granted, Mesmer doesn't really have much they can do right now in the current patch version, or the current version of the game. With the recent Mesmer nerfs, we don't really have anything we do offensively, but on the defense, you're pretty much bulletproof up on that wall. You're going to always be up on there, and you're going to always have a presence up there. You're not going to have to step back to heal. You can just keep doing it on the spot, and just hold out in that same spot. Same goes for when you're ever in a bottlenecks area. If you can, like in my case, I'll pop the Charzuka out, and I'll use my my 2 attack to knock down my targets. Say I'll get in the bottleneck, knock them back, da-da-da-da-da-da. I can heal while I'm doing that with all my shatters, although it does use up charges in the Charzuka. It does give me that opportunity to get some control on the field and retain all my healing. I hope I will see someone else build like this on, because it's really a I haven't seen anyone do a build like this yet. But that's a general idea of it. So if you want to catch me online, SYBOL, Cybol is my username. You'll see me on Kynig. Tend to frequent our Borderlands. Sometimes I'll float around into the Eternal Battlegrounds. Otherwise, I'll probably be running dungeons.